The President wants you to nominate the next Chief Justice, but you have just 2 weeks to get your submissions in. Chief Justice Mogoeng's term ends on the 11th of October. Now, the President is going to hand these publicly nominated candidates to a panel to consider. They will shortlist between 3 and 5 names. The President will then make another selection and allow consultations with the JSE and political leaders on those names. And then the President makes the final call. Well, let's discuss this process with Zikona Ndlebe, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter. Thank you so much for your time. How different is this to the usual process to get the next Chief Justice?
Hi, so the usual process is that the President has the sole prerogative when it comes to appointing the Chief Justice. So the President would usually choose one candidate to be interviewed by the JSC, and then once that interview has taken place, then the President will make the formal appointment of that person who was a candidate, and that person will be appointed as the Chief Justice. So that's the usual process in terms of the Constitution. So now what's going to happen is that there's going to be a nomination of people that will be interviewed by the JSC. But now that the nomination will be conducted by a panel of 4 people. And that panel will look at the qualifications of the candidates, look at their experience, their suitability to become the next Chief Justice, and then make the recommendation to the President. And then the President will look at the list of those candidates, and then will then send those candidates to the JSC to be interviewed. And then it is only thereafter that the President will make the final appointment of the next Chief Justice.
It's an interesting call to say to members of the public, you can make a nomination. It's quite a tight turnaround time. Anyone can nominate someone. I'm just reading through the rules, but it's got to be accompanied by an endorsement and a support of at least one professional legal body or NGO. You've got to give reasons why you think the nominee is a great option. And you need to get all of that in by the 1st of October. Do you think that it's going to see a lot of nominees beyond the obvious ones? I mean, do you think that this is going to lead to a really interesting interactive process, or do you think that the people who will nominate are, you know, people who we might have expected to give input anyway?
In the past, as we said, there's never been this process undertaken before. So in the past, a lot of people were not aware of the process for the appointment of a Chief Justice. But as Judges Matter, we have tried our best to ensure that we bring a lot of transparency in the appointment process of the Chief Justice. And we believe that a lot of people are now aware as to how a Chief Justice is appointed. We've also had the countdown. We're now left with 25 days. So a lot of people are aware. So the chances are that more people, while more people will want to nominate people that they want to see as the next Chief Justice. So we've tried to bring transparency in the process. So we really think that there will be quite a number of people that will be nominated for appointment or for the interview process to become the next Chief Justice.
Realistically, there are only a few people who are going to fit the bill. Would you say that Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo is a sort of shoe-in at this point? Is he the front runner?
So yes, there are only a few people, because it must be appropriately qualified people with the necessary experience and capability to actually do the work of a Chief Justice, and only a few people can do that. So answering your question whether the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo would be the next is a front runner. Well, we can say that he is a front runner because he is the current acting Chief Justice. He is a Deputy Chief Justice, but that is not to say that it's a given that he will be the next Chief Justice. There are other people. We've got Justice Mandisa Maya, who heads the Supreme Court of Appeal, and she has done that job very well. We've got Judge President Lambo, who has also done quite a great job in his position as a Judge President of the Gauteng High Court. And so we've got a few people that we think would be able to do the job or the work of a Chief Justice. So we cannot just limit candidates to just the Deputy Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo.
Absolutely. It's good to hear that there are some great candidates out there. And as you say, it's a wonderful thing that we as the South African public have become more and more engaged in this process. And it's really important that we understand how it's done and that it's done transparently. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Much appreciated. Zikona Ndlebe, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter. So you can now nominate who you think should be the Chief Justice. Fascinating times.